Hey yo, welcome to this episode of Adventures with Aggies Bouncing Around, brought to you by Coco's Coffee House. Go tell them that Aggie sent you, check them out. They're located on Bleecker Street in Greenwich Village. Today is the first episode of our Bouncing Around series. We're featuring Chauntiel Smith-Jones. She's a WNBA and FIBA agent for Capture Sports Agency, an agency that she started herself. She's also a track coach, and she's coming to us live from the track field. So please welcome Chauntiel. Chauntiel, how are you doing today?
I am doing great. I am actually at a track meet right now, coaching, some of these athletes with their track meets. So that's where I am right now. I'm actually in Ohio, like 2 hours from home, 3 hours from home. So it's a pretty good day. How are you?
Awesome. I'm good. Thanks so much for making the time. I know you're busy, got lots of things going on.
No problem.
Cool. Well, let's just kind of start with your background. I guess you already kind of mentioned where you're from, but can you tell me a little bit about what you do and who you are?
Definitely. So my name is Chauntiel Smith-Jones, and I am the CEO and founder of Capture Sports Agency. And I'm also a certified WNBA and FIBA sports agent locally here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And I funded or founded the company while I was in undergrad. So 2015, 2016 is when I started the company. And we've just been growing ever since then.
That's awesome. I guess this is always kind of my question for people trying to figure out why they did what they did or why they do what they do. So
Yeah.
what drove you to become a sports agent and specifically in basketball? I know like everybody watches Jerry Maguire and like, oh yeah, I want to do that, but I guess how did that start for you?
So I actually played sports since I was younger. I started playing basketball at the age of 3. Went to all the parks, played in all the streets, wherever there was a realm I was at. So that's how that started. Then I played in middle school, didn't have the funds to play AAU. So I only played, with what was given to me. And then from there, I played basketball in high school. So that's where I got my love for the game from. Was definitely playing in high school. I thought I was going to go to the league and play in the W in high school. And then I realized that I wasn't. So I had to figure out how I was going to still be able to make a difference in the sports industry and still be able to, have an impact in sports. So then, I started running track. My freshman year in high school, I knew nothing about track. And then I ended up going to state. My junior and senior year ended up finishing 5th and 7th, which was huge for me, especially since I've never ran track a day in my life. I ended up getting a scholarship to run at Indiana Tech. And then that's how I pretty much jumped into becoming a sports agent because I took on sports management. And then I also got my internship at a small sports agency down in Dallas called Max Sports Group. Now, how I got into the profession. So like I said, in high school, I was playing basketball. I played against some of the greatest athletes that I've seen. And I saw a lot of them go on and play to the next level, and they were either misrepresented or, I saw them, go from having nothing to actually having a little bit of something or more than something, and then they end up losing it again. And that just wasn't sitting right with me, and I wanted to, be able to make a difference and change that mindset and that landscape of how, athletes are being treated and guided through their lives and their careers. And another reason is I didn't have anyone when I was growing up to, show me the ropes of being a sports agent and stuff like that. So another reason why I decided to jump into the industry was pretty much to give back to my community and also be that voice and that empowerment for women who want to get into the industry as well.
Yeah, I think that's awesome that you want to be that voice. Hopefully one day I can also be some kind of voice like that, but I think you're a few steps ahead. I love that. Well, I guess my next question for you is kind of like, what does it mean to be a sports agent? Everybody thinks they know what that means, but I guess what is your role, I guess, in relation to your athletes and how do you help them?
So being a sports agent is way more than just getting the contracts and getting the money. I know a lot of people think that, and that's far from the case. Um, excuse me, it's pretty much, hate to say it this way, but it's pretty much like having children. But it's only like that only because you have to manage them. You have to help them set things up. You have to get contracts for them. You have to help them with their social media and different variations of things that a lot of people don't see behind closed doors. So I know for us, a big concept of us at Capture Sports Agency is capturing our athletes to be more than athletes. So we want them to be entrepreneurs. We want them to be role models. We want them to own a stake in a company. We want them to be entrepreneurs and more. So, the key ways that we help them do that is we hook them up with a financial advisor. We help put them in front of the right people who want to help them build their career for longevity, for them and their family. So that's just a few things of what we do for our athletes at Capture Sports.
Just a few things, right? It
Yeah,
seems like a lot. But that's
yeah.
awesome. Gotta support them, gotta support them. Cool. Well, I guess kind of transitioning into your path, right, as an agent, how did you establish yourself? Like, this is a very competitive space coming into
Mhm.
the sports agency. Like, I feel like I study sports management and everybody says, oh, I want to be an agent. And then they don't realize what it entails, kind of like what you were talking about. So how did you establish this? Like, yes, this is what I want to do, and then do it successfully in the end?
So like I said, I ended up getting my internship at a small sports agency down in Dallas, and then from there, um, I think I was there for like a year and a half, and then I spoke to God, and God was like, it's time for you to bring it back home to Fort Wayne, Indiana. So I bring it back home, and I was telling God like I can't do this. You can't expect me to do this. This is a male dominated industry. You're putting me in places that I'm not going to succeed. Like, why me? Why are you choosing me? And he told me, if I called you to do this, then you're more than qualified. And you don't question what God says. So um, after that, I just went full throttle and just went in for all he asked me to do. And with that, I stayed educated. I educated myself. Found mentors who were in the industry who could help me, lead me, and guide me in the right direction. And like I said, I took on additional courses, classes. I went to agent school. I went to pro scout school. I went to sports business school. I went to agent academy. Everything, to help me learn more about the industry and stuff like that. So that's kind of how I got established in the industry, was continuously educating myself and reaching out to people, asking questions.
That's awesome. I think that's also huge right now. Everybody's talking about like don't speak before you know what you're talking about, with the education piece. So that's really cool that you're already prioritizing that in your life
Mm-hmm.
and in your career, which is great. But I guess my next question, I didn't send you this one before, I'm sorry. But what led you to founding your own with Capture Sports Agency rather than joining some of these like massive agency consulting firms, whatever you want to call them? Yeah, I guess, was it like the entrepreneurial mind that you had and you just wanted to jump right in and do it for yourself? Or I guess, how did it start for you?
So my story was different. So, like I said, God's the one that told me, to create my own sports agency and bring it back home. And like I said, I doubted him, I questioned him, and I wondered why. Why are you choosing me to create a sports agency here in Fort Wayne? You could have chose so many other different people. Um, and at the same time, I was still at the small sports agency that I was interning with. So um, when God talks, you move, and you listen and you move. So him telling me to do that was just me being obedient. So I decided to be obedient to what he had asked me to do, and then the rest is history from there.
That's awesome. I love it. Right from the start, just jump right in. That's so
Yeah.
cool. Awesome. Well, I guess my next kind of question, you already touched on this a little bit, but can you just speak about being a woman in this industry and I guess some of the challenges that came with that from the beginning?
Definitely. So for the most part, you don't see too many women in this industry because it's hard for women to get in and leave a mark and even have a seat at the table. And it's extremely hard for us. But it's 2021, and we're moving up and we're getting closer to that. We have a few women who are sports agents in the NFL, NBA, WNBA, NHL, MLS, all that. So it's getting better. But I'll say for the most part, there's things that we have to worry about that our male counterparts do not have to worry about, such as our presence, how we look in certain settings, atmospheres, and stuff like that. People are looking at us and determining who we are before we even open our mouths or even say who we are, and that's huge for women, and it shoots us down a lot. Um, sometimes they look at us and they think we're a wife or a girlfriend or a baby mama, and we're a sports agent. And it's how they perceive us right off from jump. So that's difficult enough for us to even, be perceived as who we are and also have a seat at the table.
Definitely. Yeah, totally agree. I've definitely seen lots of interesting stories, especially those coming out within this last year and stuff. But you're killing it. I'm so excited that you're doing all these
Thank
fun
you.
things. Um, cool. I guess kind of back to, I guess, what you were telling me at the beginning. You're at a track meet right now. So can we kind of talk about your track coaching and how you transition going back and forth from being an agent and a coach, and what your balance looks like?
Man, the time management is real. So like Mondays and Fridays, I'm coaching, and every other well, all the days after that, I'm pretty much being an agent. So I'm watching game film, I'm reaching out to athletes, I'm reaching out to parents. Um, I'm doing scouting reports. I'm talking to endorsement people, and all kind of things. So it's all about time management. If I can, I make sure everything is on my calendar. If it's not on my calendar, it probably will not happen. So I live and die by my calendar. Um, so yeah, I'm at a track meet right now. Definitely had that on my calendar because if it wasn't, I was not going to be coaching today. So yeah, it's pretty much about time management. Like I said, um, God called me to do this, so I want to make sure I'm being obedient. And He's called me to do more than just being a sports agent. He's called me to be a leader, and a inspiration to a lot of athletes, not just basketball athletes, but track athletes as well.
Yeah, definitely. That's so cool. You can do both. That's awesome. I love that. Let's see. I guess my kind of a follow up to that is what kinds of skills or what kinds of things are you doing that are similar? Like, I feel like sometimes an agent could be a coach, right? Like some of the skills and things that you're doing for these athletes are similar. So I guess what kind of transferable skills are there from your coaching stuff that you're doing and your agent work?
Uh, Not too much, only
Okay.
because this is track and I'm a basketball sports agent. So if anything, it's me giving advice. It's me knowing, what they should and should not do.
Yep.
And I think it's just me being able to be inspirational and um, being that influencer. So the same team that I'm coaching for is the same team that I ran for a couple years back
Awesome.
when I was an undergrad. So um, I can talk to them about experience and stuff like that, and help them grow and see things from a different side.
Yeah, that's great. That's a wonderful transition into what I was going into next. I can tell, like on your social media and just lots of your platforms, and just from speaking with you as well, serving your community is a huge part of what you like to do. So, can you just kind of speak a little bit more about like what that means? You kind of already started here talking about your coach or you're coaching your former team. So, yeah, can you just kind of tell me about your community and the people you're serving and why you do it?
Definitely. So for the most part, so I'm from Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I've been here all my life, born and raised. And a lot of people who grew up in Fort Wayne end up leaving, and don't come back and build on what was already here. And Fort Wayne is in the process where it's building right now, and I want to continue that growth. I want to, be able to bring the jobs and internships and events and opportunities to Fort Wayne, not only for myself and not only for my athletes, but also for the people who are in Fort Wayne as well, because there isn't a lot of sports internships here in Fort Wayne
Sure.
for people who are, in college and looking for those opportunities. So I want to be able to get my company built here in Fort Wayne so that I can be able to give more jobs and more internships and stuff to, my community and help my community grow.
That's awesome. I think you're doing it. I think it's working out on
I
the
appreciate
path.
it.
I love it. I love it. Also, I wanted to ask, I see your orange sweatshirt. Love it.
Yes, yes, yes.
I love it so much. So can you just tell me about this experience? Being the WNBA bubble was obviously an awesome experience. Lots of stuff happened. Were you down there? I don't know who was allowed in the bubble or not, but I guess what were those months like for you?
I actually was not down there. But all everything that happened and everything that was around that time, especially around the bubble, was amazing. Definitely motivational, definitely empowering, not only for other athletes, but for women of color or just women in general. And it was definitely a blessing to see and be able to witness for sure. So like I said, yeah, I wasn't down there, but the message they sent over in the bubble was powerful.
Definitely. And I think I'm sure the viewership numbers and things were out the roof. And I feel like that's huge steps for what we were talking about earlier with just women in sport in general. All of these awesome, I guess, viewers and just movements, things that are happening. It's so great to see all that picking up. I know even like with my family, I turned on WNBA and they were like, what team are you watching? What are you watching? And I was like,
Yeah.
this is WNBA. Like, we got to watch. Like, I promise it's fun.
Yeah.
But it's cool. It's growing. I'm so excited about it. Awesome. Kind of a little bit of a transition into your work now, with your agents and stuff, or with being an agent. How do you acquire your clients? I think this is a huge part that people don't think about as much when they're talking about sports agents and stuff. Is it something, I guess, are you reaching out to these people? You mentioned that a little bit earlier as well. Or do they come to you like, hey, can you be my agent? I feel like it's that book, like how, what is it? The mother book. Will you be my mother? Will you be my mother? Like that. But what's it like?
So it's a combination of both. So normally we're the ones that go after the athletes, or it's the word of mouth. So word of mouth, we're the ones going after them, or they find us. But for the most part, we're going after athletes who fit the company, and what we're
Okay.
looking for. Um, Always, having that skill to play on the next level is always, something that we're looking for. But we're also looking for athletes who want to give back to the community, want to be role models, and who, you know, want to be an entrepreneur. Um, and then those are the type of athletes that we go after, and then we try to help them fulfill those dreams that they want to do for not only themselves, but for their families as well.
Definitely. Yeah. I think the fitting the company is obviously a huge part of an agency because, as you said before, you're doing so much for these athletes. It's got to be a good fit because otherwise might not go as planned. But
Yes.
yeah, no, that's great. That's great. Cool. I think just to wrap up, I usually end my shows on advice. I'm going to give you kind of two different advice questions here because I'm curious. But what is one piece of advice you would give to young people looking to be sports agents? If you have more than one, that's totally fine too.
I would definitely say learn all you can.
Mhm.
Don't be so quick and anxious to start up your own agency. Learn from those who came before you. Try to get some mentors so that you can learn a lot. It's all about education. Grow your network, um, and more than anything, be authentic.
Definitely. Yeah. Authenticity, it's huge in all aspects, actually, not just being an
Yes.
agent. Wonderful life advice. um, awesome. And then just my last one. This is my favorite question that I ask all of my guests. But what is one piece of advice, or I guess a word of wisdom that you would give to a younger Chauntiel as starting out this career? What would you tell yourself before jumping into this?
Take my time.
Yeah, that's
I
good.
definitely take my time. Pretty much the same thing that I um, pretty much the same thing that I just mentioned is pretty much taking my time and understanding that I need to be educated first before I just jump into a lot of things because I think I said this on another podcast is when you're driving and you see the potholes, you're avoiding them, but when you're first time being a sports agent, there's a lot of things you don't see, so you're hitting all these potholes and your car is just rattling like it's about to fall apart because you're running just so many things that you didn't know that was there. So I would definitely say take my time and be educated.
Definitely. Yeah, this is lots about education. I love that. And time management has been a theme. Hugely important too, especially in the sports industry, which is changing every second. There's
Hmm.
the unpredictability of sport and just the industry as a whole changes all the time. I feel like I look on Twitter and I'm like, oh my gosh, this crazy life-changing news just happened in the last 7 seconds that I wasn't looking at my Twitter feed. But
Yeah.
it is what it is and we love it. But awesome. Well, Chauntiel, thank you so much for sharing your story. This was great. I know I had so many more questions. I could go on forever about agencies. But yeah, thanks so much for giving me some of your time.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Awesome. And that's a wrap on our first episode of Adventures with Aggies Bouncing Around. Thank you so much for sharing your story, Chauntiel. And stay tuned for another episode of Bouncing Around coming on Wednesday with Batuli Camara. She's a UConn women's basketball alum and she's currently playing professionally in Spain. She's also the founder of Women and Kids Empowerment, her nonprofit. So stay tuned and listen to our episode on Wednesday with Batuli.